Welcome to CosmoFactory, a podcast by Cosmoprof Worldwide Bologna, where we explore the entire cosmetics, personal care, and fragrance industry supply chain. I'm your host, Deanna Utrusky, and here at CosmoFactory, we look beyond the trends to discover the ideas, initiatives, and innovations that are truly advancing beauty. Let's get started. This episode is about implementing a segmented market strategy. It's about SKU renovation, about the rise of supply chain agility, and it's about corporate performance and the financial aspects of product development. For today's episode of the CosmoFactory podcast, my guest is Patricia Schuffenhauer, Chief Product Officer at Erno Laszlo. Patricia, welcome to CosmoFactory.
Hi, Dina. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm happy to join.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm happy you're here as well. Would you start us off by just reminding us what the Erno Laszlo brand is known for?
Happy to. So for those who don't know, Erno Laszlo is a skincare brand that's best known for its science-backed formulation, ritual-focused approach, and a personalized skincare philosophy. The brand is nearly a century-long legacy. Yeah, we were founded in 1927. Next year is our 100-year anniversary. And the brand has been known for bespoke or tailor-made routines tailored to the individual skincare and mental wellness of the skin. A few things to note: Dr. Lazlo, when he founded, was the first to focus on the skin and mind philosophy and the importance of that connection. He introduced 24-hour synergetic approach to skin and the skin well-being. He was one of the first to consider pH balance and skin barrier function as part of the essential to skincare. And he developed custom treatments that considered each of his clients' individual skincare concerns, but also seasonality, geographics, and her lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I'm proud to say that many of the beauty and skincare methods that we really take for granted today began with Dr. Erno Laszlo. And the brand has also a rich history in strong celebrity heritage. During his time, Dr. Laszlo personalized his skincare treatments for stars such as Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, and Jackie Kennedy Onassis. The brand continues the formulations that are all grounded in dermatological research, with products that aimed for skin barrier support and protection, pH balance, and we continue to offer targeted solutions for her various skincare concerns. Some of our signature products, I think I wanted to call out, is the iconic CMOT cleansing bar, often called the Black Bar. Our hydrating masks, like Skin Vitality Treatment Mask, and our advanced moisturizer, Felatil Cream. And all of these remain bestsellers and staples in our classic skincare routines. I think probably good to call out the brand is sold globally and has a standing presence in Asia and North America. And we have offices in Shanghai, New York. And I think maybe just to sort of give everyone a sense, the global assortment is centered around premium masks and anti-aging treatments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's very helpful. I appreciate that overview. Cosmetics and personal care brands with any real history have certainly gone through formulation changes. Sometimes it's a new product launch, maybe introducing new benefits or incorporating new ingredients. But even hero products like the ones you've highlighted, I imagine, need to be refreshed over time. Can you tell us about SKU renovation? How do you prioritize the products that might get reformulated, and if there are some best practices your team has for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So our product pipeline is built around our strong brand DNA. At its core, we have 3 brand pillars we focus on, which is doctor-founded legacy products and science-backed innovations. And our product portfolio is designed with a global view for that modern consumer, but led by market data coming from different markets such as China and also Western influences. So we launch and leverage our heritage DNA to introduce new products with a focus on those masks, eye care, and her daily ritual. And as a brand, we have taken the approach to launch existing formulas or relaunch them, right, as you said, in new formats or delivery systems, and remastering some of these classics with new technologies. And that can be triggered just by the consumer needs and demand for an updated version with new technologies.
Yeah, and I even like what you said there about like new formats and what have you, because I think that's just as important, isn't it? It's not necessarily that the formula itself is evolving, but how consumers rather want to apply the product or perhaps take it with them when it used to be on the vanity product. That's helpful to think about. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, right, her needs have changed as the world is changing. And so it's not just about adding new ingredients, it's also how the product is delivered, the format, and that is, either a new technology in sensorial experience and or packaging. Right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of innovation that has come also out of the packaging side that has, made it a lot easier for consumers to either apply or experience products.
Sure.
So that said, right, so that's the approach we've been taking. And for all of these, I think it's important, that we leverage that local market insight and, validate that consumer data to make sure we create products that matter to her life. I have a few examples that I'm happy to share for how we've approached this, right?
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
And sort of where we've applied this thinking and how we've executed it. So our, hero categories, the mask franchises, we have two hero SKUs, the Vitality Treatment Mask, and which is a modeling mask or a peel-off mask, and then a memory sleep mask, which is an overnight sleep pack. So VTM, which is known as the Vitality Treatment Mask, I call it the OG of modeling masks. We successfully remastered that a while ago by just upgrading some of the ingredients. And in the last 12 months, we've been able to roll out a completely new formula addressing longevity and anti-aging, which continues to be a growing market trend and global demand, I think we all know about. And the other example, and I think it touches on what you were saying earlier, is the Sleep Pack franchise. And here we actually did not change the formula. We just introduced a new format, which is a single use, so a very convenient and smart pack pod, which is a trend that we continue to see on the rise with consumers around the globe, right? Just due to lifestyle changes and wanting to have that sort of single use comfort. And so we've applied and rolled that out, this concept of single use, for a few other recent launches. But in this instance, is for the memory sleep mask, we introduced as it is a new delivery system. And then the other one I think that is worth mentioning is our Fallital franchise. This term Fallital is something Dr. Lazlo originally coined. So it's a brand term. And here we were able to remaster this original blend with a new sensorial experience while still keeping to the original true DNA, being a skin barrier protector, but also looking for new ingredients and new benefits to add to that formulation.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask, because you've mentioned their new ingredients a couple times in your examples. When you do look for new ingredients or when you choose to work with them, can you comment on if you're turning to the same suppliers that you've always worked with and sort of getting their latest innovation or update, or are you really shopping the entire market and seeing what's a fit? How do you approach that?
Good question. I think as a mix of both, right? We do have a very strong established network of existing partners that we've worked over years with, and we've built relationships and launches together, right? But at the same time, we also continuously stay close to the market as there's new raws coming and new brands are being created. And then there's different industry shows. I think we might have crossed path at one or the other, but in cosmetics coming up in
I'm sorry, I
April.
need to jump in here. They'll make me take other show names out. So it's great that you said, we see each other at shows, and you can even say at a recent show or some sort of thing like that. It's fine to mention trade shows, but we try not to
Fair enough.
mention
I did
select.
not think of that.
Of
Okay,
course.
sorry about that.
No, pick it up when you're ready. Take your
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, so we also obviously travel to shows around the world. I think we've come across each other at CosmoProf, where also raw material suppliers are present. And we continue to search through other, either with the help and support of AI that's building up further, and or many other ways that you can stay on top of all these various trends or new launches coming out.
No, of
But
course, that makes good
it's a
sense.
combination of both, to answer your question, right? It's maintaining these existing relationships, and we have great partners, and but also keeping a close ear to what is happening in the world. And there's been shifts where trends are coming from, right? It's not always been this, it's no longer just historically, I would say there's a lot of movement have come out of Europe, but I think now there's a global, buzz, I would say is maybe the right word, where, I've seen some very interesting concepts coming out of Asia that historically, I would say, that wasn't their strong suit.
No, thank you for all of that. And you've rightly described Erno Laszlo as a legacy brand throughout the conversation and mentioned international expansion as well, I think, over the last 10 or 15 years in particular. And I believe you launched in China in 2014. I'm hoping you can tell us what you've learned. What's most valuable in terms of what you know now about, can we call it the complexities of product development or launch in markets beyond the US, which was your home market, if I may?
Yes, no. I think one of the most important learnings for PD, expanding outside our traditional markets, was agility for sourcing, right? Localizing manufacturing, and then the real-time consumer data and needs, reacting in sort of real time to those consumer trends that we see and we hear about, right? Those that obviously are fitting to our brand and our brand DNA, but having that agility and being able to be closer to the market and reacting faster has been a great learning. And we as a brand have been able to bridge that, I think, quite well. Some of the opportunities we've taken is, building a stronger presence with some of the supply chain in Asia. And that has been helpful as you're closer to the market. Yeah, so I think that will be one of the things I would call out, right? Sort of the agility of sourcing has been one of the biggest learnings, but also I think a great opportunity for us to really improve efficiencies and driving that speed to market by being closer to the markets that are driving the demand.
That's so cool. And I'm endlessly fascinated by ingredient science, formulation, innovation, but your work is about more than this. I'm hoping you can help me also think about the financial aspects of product development. What's going on there?
Yes. So I think the exactly as you said, right? Product development is beyond just creating beautiful formulations, right? There's a lot of things that you have to take into consider from a financial aspect when you develop. It's not just the formula itself, right? It's about cash flow timings. It's about risk management. It's your margin architecture, and it's your, capital efficiencies. So a few things that we always review as we design new product development opportunities is built around all the expenses associated to that development. So the upfront cost. There's the term of the cost of goods, the actual cost of the product. There's the inventory and working capital requirements, and then there's the driver of the marketing expenses and the customer acquisition. So the overall margin and lifetime value of that particular product we're creating. The financial piece associated directly to the formula is what we refer to as the upfront development cost. So that includes, all the expenses associated to the formula development. So any, fees associated with that, compliance and safety testing. any packaging design or sampling, and then regulatory and registration. So global compliancy is important as a global brand, and so all the expenses associated to that, and then creating the assets for the launch. So the support for the go-to-market strategy. And then there is the cost itself of the product, right? That includes bulk, the formula, packaging, the fill and assembly, the warehousing, etc. And then I would say outside of PD and those costs is the marketing and customer acquisition, which, depending on the type of product and where the product sits in the product architecture and hierarchy, that is tentatively one of the larger expenses associated within that product development cycle.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I appreciate your sharing those details. It helps give us a much bigger picture of what's going on in product development. Can I ask as well if there are particular sort of corporate performance responsibilities or targets that the product development team is actually watching or tasked with hitting?
Yes. Yes. So as it relates to the product architecture, right, we're tasked to make sure we have the right innovation mix. There's a lot of analytics and making sure the matrix are right for the hero product and the hero product strategy and any newness that we add to the product. We need to manage and maintain the innovation pipeline and make sure that we have a rolling calendar for 24 months, delivering on that pipeline as well. I think we touched on it earlier. There is a strong importance to maintaining our relationships with our partners, our strategic partners, and ensuring that we have a good front seat there. And then there's the financial piece we just talked about, right? We also have some KPIs from a financial perspective, making sure that we hit the margin targets, stay within the cost of good development. And in some cases, there's specific or more detailed KPIs depending on the type of the launch. Agility we touched on, right? So there's the time to market, the testing, and how we maintain that in timely manner. And there's, I think some quality and regulatory compliance aspects to consider from a PD KPI. And then there is the cross-functional leadership targets, right? The interaction. It's not just about the product development itself, but it's also the cross-functionality with the other teams, which, also there's some responsibility here, how we interact with marketing, supply chain, regulations or regulatory and finance.
Yes.
I think that's important to note as well.
Yeah, there's so much going on. I love it.
It's a lot.
And, another business aspect to all of this, and you've certainly mentioned it, is this idea of speed to market and the fact that the cosmetic industry really continues to see the pace of innovation and production accelerate. And I think this is especially true as digital technologies like automation and AI are more commonplace. I want to just share a recent piece of news as an example here from the manufacturer Kolmar, Korea. Their newest facility in the U.S. is they've automated 80% of production there. And in October of last year, so 2025, Kolmar actually announced that their company is participating in a project of South Korea's Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Resources. It's called the AI Factory Alliance Project. And under this project, Kolmar, Korea, I am going to quote from a media release now, Kolmar, Korea will develop an AI autonomous manufacturing system that integrates all cosmetic production processes from planning and formulation to quality control, filling, and packaging. The company says, and I continue to quote here, AI factories use artificial intelligence to analyze data in real time and autonomously optimize production operations. The company has a goal of 95% process accuracy and will not only roll out this technology globally at their facilities, but also share learnings with the cosmetic manufacturing infrastructure, or other companies, I should say, throughout Korea. And I'm sharing this because I think this piece of news is a particularly good reminder that what we think of today as speed to market and supply chain agility is only going to become faster and more reliable. Patricia, through your work, you've certainly, as you've mentioned, seen speed to market increase and seen the value that that can bring. I'm curious to know how this acceleration in our industry is impacting product development, maybe impacting market competition or corporate performance. What are you noticing?
Yeah, super interesting fact. Thank you for sharing. I think I've seen this being written up, so I've heard about it. I've had the pleasure to see various manufacturers in Asia and their sort of capabilities to translate some of this, AI, or apply some AI with some speed to market. I've not had the opportunity to see Comars, but it sounds very impressive, and it addresses that point that you and I just discussed, right? Sort of the efficiencies and agility, changing some of this, the way they operate. And to what I have seen in market, in particular in Korea and China, is very impressive. And those robot operated environments are very impressive to see.
No, absolutely. And as the supply chain becomes more agile and the pace of manufacturing only gets faster, in my imagination, there's sort of a best case scenario for the future of beauty, but there are also risks associated with increasing the speed of production. I'm just curious, as we finish up here, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, obviously there is risk associated with it, right? I think the importance is or I think one way to manage is that we've seen success with is to focus on smaller batches so that you don't have any sort of risk associated with speed where potentially there could be some scaling issues or other unforeseen circumstances. That also, smaller batches also help with lower inventory, right? That's another, it allows you more flexibility and agility. And I've heard of smarter replenishment systems, right? I think some of our strategic competitors have already invested in this, what is referred to flexible manufacturing network, that can have that kind of responsiveness, right? And that I think will set everyone up for success with, maintaining that.
Sort of the idea there is warehousing less inventory and producing it
exactly
or as demand requires.
Yes. I think that will make a difference. And it's my understanding that it exists or is being implemented. And I think it sort of touches on what you were just sharing, this latest industry news, right? So I think that all is heading in the same direction.
Wonderful. Patricia, this was very informative. I'm so glad you shared your experience with us today. I thank you very much for being my guest on the CosmoFactory podcast.
Dina, thank you so much for having me. It was great to be part of your podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. If you find the CosmoFactory podcast useful, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and share your thoughts so even more cosmetic industry professionals can discover the CosmoFactory. I'm Deanna Utrusky. Please join me again next Tuesday for a new episode of the CosmoFactory podcast.